welcome back. So for today's video, I got requested to do a how to teach your horse to target train. Before we get into that, I do want to say if you have no liberty training with your horses at all, I would recommend starting in a round pen. And if you would like, start in a round pen on a halter. If you have done liberty training with your horses, or even if you haven't, I would establish some basic commands before you try this, because it's going to help you. You don't have to do these things, but it is going to help you and help your horse to understand things a little bit quicker and a little bit better. So before you jump in straight to going to target training, let me start off by saying you can use anything for target training. It can be your hand, it can be your foot, it can be a whip, it can be a stick, it can be a tarp. Anything you want that target to be, it can be. Secondly, I have a cue for each gait for my horse. So shh is walk, is trot, is canter. And she knows those cues really, really well. We practice them a lot under saddle, and that's how I'm getting her to trot to me in other videos and trot around me in the target training video. I will say you should have a recall for your horse. You don't have to, like I said, but it will help. I like to walk away with my target, and if she doesn't follow, I give her her recall, which is a whistle. And that helps her to understand to come to me and come with me. Don't have to have it, it just helps. Another thing you need, this is something you do need to have, you need to have a target word. Meaning, when they touch that target, they get a reward. They get a treat, a scratch, whatever the reward is. They need to have a word to associate that reward with. So Kamani's, when she touches my hand or when she touches the stick or the whip, the word yes is given and she gets a treat. So she associates the word yes with a treat, and she associates touching the stick to the word yes to the treat, if that makes sense. Now, if your horse, like I said, has no liberty training, you can put them on a halter and you can pull them to you and touch whatever the object is that you're using to their nose, say touch, then give them their word for their treat, and then give them their treat. And they'll start to pick it up. Kamani did not pick this up overnight. I think it took her a day and a half to understand what I was asking. Before I jump in with Kamani and show you guys where we're at, how to do the moves that we're doing, let's start off at the beginning and show you what it'll look like more than likely in the beginning when you're starting this and your horse doesn't really understand anything. Scratchy doesn't know any of these words. He doesn't know any cues. So this is going to kind of show you what it'll look like in the beginning if your horse has no liberty training and no cue words. Pony doesn't know any cue words. All he knows is treats in a bucket. That sound. So let's say I want to start off with my hand as my target, which is what I did with Kamani. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to walk over to him and I put my hand in a fist with my treat in my hand so it kind of, he can smell it. And I'm going to ask him to come to me. I might back away and shake my treat bucket. There. That's okay. He's going past me, but he's coming to me. Touch. It's okay. So he just touched my hand there and he got a little nervous and left. That's perfectly fine. Kamani did that too. I'm going to walk up to him, touch my hand to his nose, say the word yes, and give him the treat. Touch. Yes. Let's go get Kamani and get started. Let's say you want to start off on a halter. How would you do that? Same thing as I did with the pony. I'm going to use my hand first. You don't have to. You can use the whip, which I'll show you how to do in a second. You put your treat in your hand, say touch. So that's what she did in the beginning. She didn't touch it. So I touch her, say touch, and then give her a treat and say yes. And you do that until they get to the point where you can stick your hand out. And they touch, and you say yes. And you continue to do that until you can stick your hand out, and they're going to be looking for your hand. Because when they touch it, they get a treat. She's chewing right now. Now, I don't allow that. I don't allow grabbing like that. But she's allowed to touch it. Again, we're not going to be grabby and pushy. I'm just looking for her to touch my hand. Yes. There, she touched it very politely. Stay there to the point where they're looking out for your hand, touching your hand, everything like that. You want to start moving a little bit. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold your hand out a little bit further. If they don't walk forward and seek it like she is, I would even reward this in the beginning. Yes, she knows better than that, but in the beginning I would reward a reach like that. What you can do is you can help them out because they're on a halter and a lead line. And stick my hand out. She's not coming, so I'm going to give her her whistle. There, she touched, yes. Now, if you don't want to use a whistle, all you have to do is pull them to you. So I'd stick my hand out and pull them to me. When she touches, yes, and the treat. Say you want to start off with the halter, and you're at the point where you can add some speed. Get your face out of mine, thank you. Set your boundaries, be clear. You're at the point where you're on the halter, you want to add some speed. So I'm going, she already knows, I'm going to put my target whip and my lead rope in the same hand. Wait a second, please. And I'm going to use the tail end of my rope if she doesn't have a cue to speed up. And I'm going to swing it till she speeds up. Then when she touches the whip, whether it's at a walk or a speed up, she will get a treat. Because she's following it at the pace that I'm looking for. Although she may not stop where I want her to at the pace that I want her to, she still has to get a reward at the slightest try. Later and later, you'll not reward her until she touches it when she's at a trot. So let's ask her to move off. Use my tail end of my rope. So say I want to trot. I'm looking for her to try to touch that whip. Yes, there. So that's what they're going to do in the beginning. They're going to stop before they touch it. You see, I didn't have to use the tail end of my rope to get her to go because she knows her cue. But if I needed her to and she didn't have a cue, I would just swing my rope until she moved. I'm applying more and more pressure until she moved the gait that I was wanting. Let's try it again. There, I had to use my rope. Yes, right there. You see, and at the trot, she touched the stick. Let's say you have keywords. You're going to use those keywords to entice your horse in, which does not take much for her at all. I haven't even called her. The first thing I did was I used my hand. Like I did with the pony, I put my treats in my hand so my hand smells like the treat. I stuck my hand out. She did not reach her nose out in the beginning. In the beginning, I had to touch, yes. And that's how I got her to start doing it. So I would do it again, touch, yes. Once she got really good at that, I moved my hand away a little bit and I gave her a whistle as a cue to follow. Touch, yes. Now, I also, just because she follows doesn't mean she gets a treat. She has to touch my hand. So she would follow but not touch my hand. I would touch my hand up against her nose and say the word touch. Again, like I said in my last video, set your boundaries straight. She ate too fast. Set your boundaries straight away. I don't want her being pushy. I don't want her nipping. None of that. So the next thing you can do is work it up a couple of steps. Touch. Yes. You can see there, she went in the circle. She wasn't touching my hand, was she? Until I said the word touch. So like I said in the beginning, you don't have to have those words, but it really does help them understand what you're asking. So say they're getting really good at that, you can use a whip. In the beginning, she did not want to touch the whip. She did not understand. So again, the same thing. I took the whip up to her nose, touched her, said touch, and then gave her a treat and said yes. Then I asked her to follow it. hand'll do. So then I started working on getting her to go to this side, which is a little trickier for her. So we started off at a walk. Touch, yes. And we still haven't moved up to a trot yet, and it's been a couple of days. She's not as good on this side, but make sure you practice both sides. If you ever want your horse to be one that can jump and turn and run the other way with you, you need to work on both sides. Yes! So I didn't have to whistle or use the word catch. Obviously, you're going to increase these a couple steps at a time, but if you really want to, you can practice going in a full circle here and there and see when they pick it up. When they pick it up, give them a big reward and go do something else for a minute. Touch. Yes. That was a perfect example of her getting distracted. This is her hard side. She doesn't want to do it on this side, so she left. So I whistled, which again, it's great to have that cue, and she came back in and paid more attention to me, followed the whip, touched it, and got a treat. You can use 2 whips, which I'll show you here in a second, increase the speed with your vocal cue, or even if you have your treats in their pocket, if you use this as your cue to speed up, you can start to entice that into them following the targets and speeding up. They already know what this means, so they should put 2 and 2 together. It might take them a while. And I also make my target the end of the stick to get her out further. So I want her to trot. Touch, yes. So if I want her to trot, I'm going to give her her trot cue. I'm going to move a little quicker ahead of her, and that's going to entice her to speed up. So. Let's say you're doing this and they're not speeding up. What you can do is reach back at their butt, spank. Yes. If they're not speeding up, do what you would normally do on groundwork to get them to speed up. Try doing that. If that doesn't work, go back on the halter. Put your target in the same hand as your lead rope. Get another whip or whatever you would normally use to speed them up. And speed them up. Then give them the word yes and give them their treat. Let's say you're at the point where they're following your target. Like a grandma. Yes! Now they don't get a treat every single time, but in the beginning they do. As you get more advanced, I don't give as many treats. Let's say you're at the point where they're kind of pushy. She doesn't like to really move out. So then you're going to use 2 whips. Again, you can use your lead line. Keep your lead line just like I showed you in the halter in the same hand as your target stick. Use another stick to push out. Let's try this. I have not tried this with her yet, so this is how we're going to go from here. We're going to see how it works together. So, I'm going to use this as my target stick. Ask her to follow it. I'm going to use this stick behind her front shoulder. And if she gets too close, I'm just going to tap her. If she leaves, I'm going to invite her in. Now, another thing is if they leave and they don't come back, I normally push them off until they come back. When they come back, they get a reward. They learn that sticking with you is easier. So I'm going to ask her to follow my whip here. Now I want her out. There. So all I'm going to do is step in, push out. Step in, push out. Touch, yes. Now that's the first time I've ever done that with her. So that wasn't too bad. Follow? You notice that whistle comes in handy. Ask her to move out. There. Ask for a trot. Out. Yes. Good job. That is how I taught her target training, where we're at now, and what I'm introducing now. I hope that was helpful. I'm really bad at explaining things. I'm so sorry if it's confusing. I tried. At least with the video, there's a demonstration if you don't understand what I'm saying. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for Friday's video because it's a very special one, including this one. Alright, bye guys!